Touhou is a game franchise that is well deserving of the high attention it receives from its wide and diverse fan base. The original Touhou games span way back to PC 98 and is still going strong today. And as of the latest game release, there are over 100 characters in total. However, this list will only focus on the top 10 characters based on my personal preference. We won't limit the list to one character per game, mostly because some characters appear in more than one. However, the list will only comprise of characters that make canonical appearances. The characters will be judged based on abilities, performance in both canonical and fan works, appearance, theme music, and impact in the Touhou fan community. So, now we're off to Gensokyo to see in action the top 10 Touhou characters. Let's start off this list right with one of the main heroines of the game. Reimu is the Shrine Maiden of the Hakurei Shrine who solves the incidents around Gensokyo, the supernatural world where the entire franchise takes place. Her PC 98 design looks completely different from her current design, but it looks way better than it was then. Her abilities include aura manipulation and flight. Just don't mess with her if you don't want this to happen.
What the fuck?!
This court is now in session.
Shiki Eiki is the judge that determines where the dead goes, whether heaven, hell, a supernatural shrine, or to be reincarnated. Shiki Eiki judges by using two colors, black for guilty and white for innocent. She is commonly portrayed as someone who likes to lecture and nag at other people, particularly Komeiji, who happens to be her subordinate. Also, she has a really high impact in the community, as seen by this particular video. And to stop myself from making a current events joke, here's a little something.
Medic!
Okay, moving on. For centuries, the vampire clan has been feared and respected. First came the head of all vampires, Count Dracula. His reign will go down history and be remembered for ages. Then, in the Far East, Alucard has sieged destruction upon the modern world. But then came a very dark time. Time when vampires sparkled. It would seem that there would be no hope for the vampires. But then, two particular vampires have returned to bring back the honor of the vampires. And these two sibling vampires share the same spot for number 8. And these are Flandre and Remilia Scarlet. The Scarlet sisters are European vampires. Due to the weak nature of vampires, they sought shelter within the realm of Gensokyo and reside within the Scarlet Devil Mansion. Remilia appeared as the final boss and embodiment of Scarlet Devil, and Flandre appeared during the extra stage. They nearly got their own Memories of Phantasm episode, but as it turns out, it's just the opening. And guess what? These are real vampires. This is not a vampire, these are. Vampire, not. Vampire, not. Vampire, vampire, not. Vampire. Next! Imagine what would happen if a Playboy bunny carries guns and if you look into her eyes, you'll go crazy. No, not crazy for her. Yeah, that crazy. Reisen was once a citizen of the moon but has taken refuge on the world of Gensokyo during the Lunar War. Eventually, the incident in the Imperishable Night game took place and you encounter her as a stage boss. She's the pet of Kaguya and Reisen will stop at nothing to prevent you from stopping her master. her powers of insanity comes from her eyes. Her abilities are that of manipulating wavelengths, which includes light waves and sound waves. Using her lunatic red eyes, she can make a person hallucinate then ultimately lose their minds. She is also one of the primary targets for fan service. Can't imagine why. You can't have anything with Reimu on it without this character. Marisa is a human magician that's Reimu's greatest ally. Like Reimu, she's also a playable character in most games. Marisa is portrayed in canon and taken over the top by fandom as a thief. So remember, if she wants to borrow something from you, never give it to her, unless you want it to be the last time you'll own it. Speaking of fandom, there are actually two characters who are madly in love with her according to the fans, Alice Margatroyd and Pacholi Knowledge. Who will win the fight? Only you can decide.
I'm a fire in my leg.
Wrong samurai! Remember, we're after the top 10 Touhou characters. Youmu is the half-ghost samurai who works for Yuyuko. She is followed by a spectral body that is her phantom half. Her weapons are the twin swords Raukanken and Hakuroken. She's a stage boss in Perfect Cherry Blossom and one of the main villains in Memories of Phantasm. After that, she became a playable character like in Imperishable Night and Scarlet Weather Rhapsody. And how the fandom interprets her is just awesome. Aside from her being a kick-butt samurai chick, she's also the one who stops Yuyuko from going all Kirby and oh my god! I just simply adore maids. They're kind, meek, and tender to your every need. But what happens if you take your regular maid and made it awesome? Sakuya is basically the definition of moe awesome, or should I say, mo awesome. She's just your typical maid, keeping a mansion all neat and tidy, caring for her masters, and basically running all things that are needed around. But this particular maid is what separates from the others. First off, she's not serving in just any mansion. She works in the Scarlet Devil Mansion. That's right, she works for the Scarlet Sisters, the sibling vampires of Kinsopia. Next, she uses knives. Her weapon of choice is basically a set of throwing knives. Then there's her abilities. She has the power to stop time. Now, you got to admit, that is pretty awesome. Do you have any idea how useful that is in real life? She can use all these skills in combat so well that it really makes her a very formidable opponent. The fanbase also uses her a lot for fan service. Aside from the fact that maids look totally cute, in otaku standards of course. There is actually an inside joke where you should never say that she wears pants.
Now sleep with the trauma that will leave you sleepless.
Sounds familiar? Satori is the head of the Earth Spirit's mansion. Her ability is that she can read the minds of anyone she encounters. She is one of the most fearsome opponents you could ever encounter in a Touhou game. Why is that so, you may think? Well, do you know that in Metal Gear there's this one boss that reads your mind and messes with your gameplay? Well, this is their take on that particular boss. In Subterranean Animism, the game where you encounter her as a stage boss, she uses her own attacks on her first life, but on the next life, her attacks are dependent on who your partner is. If, let's say, you choose to play Marisa and you pick Pacholi as your partner, then, well, good luck. Also, her theme is a perfect mix of beauty and creepiness. With features like this, you may think that she's the final boss, but no. The final boss of subterranean animism is someone different. Speaking of whom, if you hear that, you're in trouble. Big time. And in case of Utsuho, it's time to nuke the place. Her powers revolve around that of nuclear fusion, which leads her to create an artificial sun in the depths of hell. And using the powers of nuclear fusion, she will proceed her plan of, what else? World domination.
World domination!
She's one of Satori's pets and is based on the three-legged crow that is the manifestation of the sun, which explains her powers of nuclear fusion. Also, her design is so epic. Wings and a cape, an arm cannon, and overall look is just screaming awesomeness. Even her theme is awesome. In fact, she's so epic that she almost reaches #1. Thing is, someone is better. But before we can reveal the name of the top Touhou character, let's do a little recap. The Shrine Maiden of Paradise, Reimu. Supreme Judge of Hell, Shiki Eiki. World of Crimson and Diabolic Wave, the Scarlet Sisters. Lunatic Moon Rabbit, Reisen. Magician of Misty Rain, Marisa. Ghostly Gardener, Youmu. Perfect and Elegant Maid, Sakuya. The girl even the spirits fear, Satori. And Scorching and Divine Flame, Utsuho. So, who can possibly beat the searing Divine Flame? Well, the answer is pretty obvious. Why, it's no other than the yokai of boundaries, Yukari Yakumo. She is by far the strongest yokai in all of Jinsokyo, and even Reimu is on equal ground with her. Her abilities revolve around that of manipulation of borders. She can manipulate the borders of space and time, fantasy and reality, and the world of the living and dead. She has the power to create as well as destroy. With these frightening powers, you may think that she'll be the main villain. However, whether she chooses to use these powers for good or evil is all within her decision and her decision alone. Also, there's one particular thing that I like about her. She thinks with portals.
Now you're thinking with portals.
Experienced fans call them gaps, I call them portals. She uses them to transport herself or other objects across space or across worlds. In combat, she can use these portals to toy around with her opponents. Utsuho may be science team, but she still does not think with portals. Yukari does, and... Okay, why is there a bias alarm there? Much better. I'm the Rampaging Bonecrusher, and be sure to look out for Memories of Phantasm 2 coming out this, next Comic Con? I don't know, when is that? Anyways, so long, have fun, and good luck in Lunatic Stage.